As we gather with family and friends, we'll not forget the true source of our joy and our strength. America has put our trust in God. It will always be in God we trust. We will never change that. You know, there's a movement to change it. It will not happen. We won't let that happen.
President Trump yesterday, I've interviewed President Trump. I've met President Trump. We're not old friends. We don't golf together or anything, but I know a bunch of people that have worked for him for years and that know him well. And I am told that since the Democrat suicide attack in Butler, Pennsylvania, he's gotten a heaping helping of looking at mortality and God and afterlife. And President Trump is serious. Had he not turned his head to the right at the last moment, as I said the day after that event, we would have had a Zapruder film part 2. A lot of Democrats very disappointed by that. The Democrat Party is not what it used to be. It's not a party at all, really, There's a party going on right here. Not exactly a celebration. Lasts throughout the year. But they do have this Senator Chris Van Hollen. You see the pictures of him adoring and loving the MS-13 member with his right hand rubbing the left forearm of the MS-13 member, possible human trafficker. 7 people in his car in Tennessee. Now there are reports that one of the 7 people in his car that he was, let's just say, transporting rather than smuggling from Texas to Maryland for construction work, he said. One of them apparently may be on the terror watch list, maybe someone on the terrorist watch list that he was transporting, or smuggling from Texas to Maryland. Never mind that, though. And the Prince George's County Police, the news media are trashing the Prince George's County Police and the police officer involved with the gang unit in Prince George's County. Prince George's County borders Washington, D.C. The most dangerous part of Washington, D.C. borders Prince George's County. And Prince George's County has an interesting and kind of tragically checkered history of late. A lot of crime there, a lot of murders. It was the wealthiest majority black county in the United States for a long time. And now the Democrat media, they're attacking Prince George's County police officer because he actually arrested their hero, Garcia. And they just love crime. They're very big on crime, aren't they? They're very fond of crime. The Democrat Party. But Chris Van Hollen, he went to El Salvador, to San Salvador in El Salvador. That's the city in the country in Central America where they have, the roots of a gang called MS-13. They're known for chopping limbs off with machetes, among other things. We had a teenage girl in Washington, D.C. a few years ago now, and she was found close to the Potomac River. I think it was Georgetown or just north of Georgetown. And the teenage girl had been murdered by MS-13, and they left their signature. They chopped her hands off. They chopped her hands. She was a teenager, and she's not with us anymore. The Democrats didn't care. The news media didn't care. But now they're attacking the Prince George's County Police and the police officer involved in the arrest of the Democrat Party's new hero. Because, Luigi, I don't know, but Luigi, they're going to have to go find the Luigi porn movies because the Democrats got a lot of issues, lots and lots of issues. But we've got an update for you on that because Chris Van Hollen, the unrequited love of the Maryland senator, adoring the Salvadoran gang member who was living in the United States. He's a wife beater. First, he was a baby mama beater because they weren't married. You can't call him a wife beater if they're not married, right? Because it's not his wife. But he knocked up the woman who already had 2 children. And then he started beating her he beat her and gave her a big old black eye and beat her with his construction boot, just according to her. Don't take my word for it. And the court documents that are on record. But never mind that. Chris Van Hollen adores and loves gang members that beat their women, especially pregnant women, because Democrats love that. They're big fans of that. And Chris Van Hollen posting pictures of himself sitting at a nice-looking cafeteria table with glasses of water and placemats, and he's got a cup of coffee, and with his right hand he is adoringly touching the hand and the forearm of the gang member. They call him Kilmar. Kilmar, kind of a funny name for a gang member. They call him Kilmore in the gang. Amazing stuff. And Chris Van Hollen went down there. Oh, no, the mean vice president of El Salvador won't let me go into the prison and meet with a gang member inmate that was deported from the United States who may have been involved in human trafficking and certainly, according to court documents, and the woman who has now kind of gone back. But the news media, it never occurred to the news media that maybe she's afraid of retribution from the gang. Never occurred to the news media. They're not a bright bunch. They don't follow the news. They don't know what's in the news, and they're just of low intelligence, generally speaking. I don't think that was always the case, but it's certainly the case now. So there he is. He's Kilmar Abrego Garcia, hero of the Democrat Party, and Democrat Senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, has posted a series of pictures. They look like they're dating. They look like it's a dating app. And it's like he went down there because Grindr sent him down there. Am I right? Looks like a Grindr date. Because Chris Van Hollen is touching in a gentle and adoring way, a loving way. And I see if you look closely at his iPhone built by the patriarchy on the table there in the cafeteria, I think you can see the Grindr app is up. Kind of strange. I don't know what's up with these guys. And now, interestingly, Cory Booker wants to go down there. That's perfectly in keeping, isn't it? Because remember when he pinned that guy against the wall and groped him at a Democrat, that was in New Jersey, right? Pinned him against the door to the men's room and was groping him. And that's okay when you're a Democrat. The news media forgets that. Lickety-split. And when I say lickety-split, I think you know what I mean. Yeah, so we got Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen with his unrequited love and his Grindr date and the pictures that he posted all over the place of him adoring the gang member. And they gave him a nice a short-sleeve shirt. Looks like he's on Martha's Vineyard. He's got like a Nantucket Martha's Vineyard short-sleeve shirt on, buttoned down with a button-down collar. Got some jeans. And the short-sleeve shirt reveals his giant MS-13 tattoos down his left arm from the elbow to the wristband, if you had a watch or something. But remarkable stuff, and they're just loving and adoring. And it turns out, this is kind of weird, Kilmar Abrego Garcia has had to file for a restraining order against Chris Van Hollen because there was a little too much touching. And Abrego Garcia may be an MS-13 gang member. He may be in prison. He may have married the baby mama that he was beating while she was pregnant. Married her while he was in prison. Of course, she had to come into the prison to marry him through bulletproof glass because the Democrats are, what's the turn of phrase? Keeping it classy. They're keeping it classy. Aren't they amazing? And the news media is still doing mistakenly deported Maryland man. That's they call him mistakenly deported Maryland man. I want to release the mistakenly deported Maryland man in the front yards of these Washington Post reporters that write these things. Just amazing. And again, the news media, USA Today, national newspaper, allegedly, their headline, "Now Fired Maryland Cop Authored Report Tying Abrego Garcia to MS-13." So they're going to the roots like a team of vicious, overpaid defense attorneys, the news media is, to attack the police, who they want to defund, who they riot against, who they firebomb. They throw M80s at. That's an eighth of a stick of dynamite. They throw urine bottles with their own urine, of course. Where else would they get urine? At the police. They set fire to police cars. They want to defund the police, the Democrat Party. And now the left-wing media at USA Today, "Now Fired Maryland Cop Authored Report Tying Abrego Garcia to MS-13." Well, and then there's all the Chicago Bulls gear. And the Chicago Bulls gear, popular with MS-13 gang members. Either that, or he's just another El Salvador illegal alien Bulls fan living in Maryland. And that's what the Democrats are arguing. No. He just wears the Chicago Bulls hats and jerseys and shirts and garb like the MS-13 gang members because even though he's from El Salvador and he's an illegal alien and he's living in Maryland, which is not close to Chicago, he's a big Bulls fan. And that's what the Democrats are asking everyone to believe because of their tiny little insane brains. And then they track down the police officer involved in the arrest. He was with the gang unit in a very violent county with a lot of crime, Prince George's County in Maryland. And they say, oh, yeah, well, he was fired from his job. So they're discrediting the police officer with the gang unit who said, we all know that Chicago Bulls gear means that you're MS-13. In other parts of the country, the Chicago Bulls gear could mean that you're with the Bloods or with the Latin Kings And around here, and I guess nationwide, the Bulls gear, Chicago Bulls with the bull, because, in Latin America, it means virility and masculinity and toughness. It's a bull, strung like bull. I assume they love Schlitz malt liquor because it's real tasty. And you get drunker faster. And that's all good, too. But now they're smearing and attacking disgraced Maryland police officer tied to 2019 Abrego Garcia gang report. And so like a capable gang of highly paid defense attorneys, the news media is getting to work to save the gang MS-13 and all the wife-beating, baby mama-beating gang members who may or may not be human traffickers. He was bringing 7 people up from Texas to Maryland in one vehicle. So that's the human trafficking and not a lot of eloquent English speakers. And one of them reportedly may have been on the terror watch list because the Democrats love terror. They are the party that gave us the KKK and the SDS and the Weather Underground and the Symbionese Liberation Army. People usually leave out the Symbionese Liberation Army, but I like to keep the Symbionese Liberation Army in there for the sake of Patty Hearst, who they kidnapped and all that stuff. And Tom Homan, border czar, says he saw something proving Abrego Garcia is absolutely MS-13. But our Democrat Party, they've got a lot of issues. Yes, sir. I am telling you. We've also got all kinds of other stuff. You know that how many of the wealthiest congressional districts in the United States have Democrat members of Congress? How many of, let's just say, the top 10 wealthiest congressional districts, not a city or a state or a county, but a congressional district, which, is gerrymandered up the yin-yang, and the Democrats, then they gerrymander everything, and you got 400 corners on the shape of your congressional district, and then they pound the table and yell that we cannot be gerrymandering because of their severe mental illnesses. Just amazing stuff. But the wealthiest congressional districts of 2022 and of 2023, kind of an interesting story. Also, this is amazing. Today is Good Friday, and the day after tomorrow is Easter Sunday. We are wrapping up Holy Week, and a remarkable story by the New York Post yesterday, the New York Post, not the New York Times, because they're godless, baby-killing, organ-harvesting commies. They're the New York Times. But here's the New York Post. Young people, and this is great stuff, yesterday's New York Post. I think, it came late in the morning anyway. Young people, that's young people in the United States, young people are converting to Catholicism en masse. Wow, that's kind of interesting. Driven by pandemic, internet, Lex alternatives. Lex alternatives. You mean the shameless, deviant corruption and cultural decay of the United States, the Lex, and by the left, by the Democrat Party, who, when they want to play duck, duck, goose with the kids, don't let them. You're going to have to trust me on this. Don't let them. Amazing stuff. Fun letter from, I've got Harvard University. They have an endowment of more than $53 billion. They're very well endowed at Harvard University. And how much money did they make off their endowments last year? Since we're paying them billions and billions of dollars, tax dollars going to Harvard University. Why would that be? And also, is Chris Van Hollen going to go to New York and try to date their boy Luigi? because, they love Luigi, too. Also, the firebombed Jewish governor by a Democrat, by an Israel-hating Democrat. Governor Josh Shapiro, the Democrat governor, whose governor's mansion was firebombed, he was out in public yesterday thanking firefighters. Doesn't he want to defund firefighters, too? Remarkable stuff. So Luigi Mangione should be expecting a visit from Chris Van Hollen, who also might want to gently rub his fingertips against his left forearm while incarcerated. They're an unusual bunch. We're at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. The Democrat Party, their love of gangs and Hamas, and they love anti-Semitism. They love violence, political violence, firebombing the Jewish governor's house, dating MS-13 members in prisons in El Salvador. Let's go to the phones, Michael. Let's go to John, calling from the great Commonwealth of Virginia, retired police officer. John, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, sir. I hope you have a blessed holiday. So just a quick point. Back when I worked in law enforcement, I spent 3 decades as an officer in Maryland. For an officer to declare somebody a member of a gang, there had to be investigative effort put into it. So a person had to be sometimes interviewed, and when they're interviewed about being a gang member, they're very often very honest about it. Yes, I'm a member of such and such a gang, because they're proud of it. But they would also look for other tales like gang member tattoos. Are they known to be affiliated with other confirmed gang members? Are they wearing colors of said gang? So for the officer to have documented a person as a gang member, well, I'm going to go with them as being a gang member.
Yeah, with the Prince George's County Police, where they know a thing or two about gangs, right?
Oh, yeah, just a little. I'd say the Blood and Crips were just starting into the Maryland area back when I started becoming a police officer, and definitely PG County and Montgomery County were the hotbeds back when the gangs really started expanding around the country. So yeah, PG County, they're definitely subject matter experts.
And when you see USA Today, I pointed out they're attacking the police officer from a 2019 arrest. Disgraced Maryland police officer tied to 2019 Abrego Garcia gang report, and they're smearing him.
Of course. It's the Democrat way.
It is that, that very, very eloquently and succinctly put. It's exactly right. It's the Democrat way. And their media corruptniks are part of their gang. Honestly, the MS-13. I'm going to turn on MSNBC now. Mass shooting at Florida State University yesterday. Democrats are really praying, hoping, and they're trying to make the gunman a Trump supporter because the list of Democrats firebombing Jews and shooting congressmen and presidential candidates and Tesla dealerships, and the list goes on. I got an idea, Democrats. Stop firebombing the Jews. How about let's start with that. Is that too much? That could be too much. But they love the Hamas guy, Mahmoud Khalil, right? And they love a Luigi Mangione, who killed the CEO with the healthcare insurance group. He's a hero of the Democrat Party. And, now they love every criminal, every murderer, every illegal alien, every gang member. The left is godless gang of commies. Would that be generous? I think that would be generous. All right, let's go, Michael, let's go back to the telephones because we are fortunate to have brilliant and perfect callers to our humble radio show. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to George calling from the great state of Maryland, where that awful Prince George's County police officer learned that this guy's a gang member, Garcia, And the Democrats are attacking, that means the media too, are attacking the police now, attacking the police. George, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yes, sir. Hey, Chris, how's it going, man? Hey,
Just great.
I felt compelled to call in. Long-time listener, haven't called before. I am a retired PG County police officer.
Oh, okay.
Did 29 years on the department, left as a sergeant. I am a founding member of the gang unit for PG County.
Wow.
I created the form that is being passed around, actually the form itself. I am familiar with the people that Garcia was stopped with from my work. And from 2002 to the beginning of 2018 was, like I said, one of the founding members of the gang unit started in 2002, was the sergeant of the gang unit until I retired in the beginning of 2018. I have testified as a gang expert in federal, state, and local courts and have been recognized over 50 times as an expert on gangs, more specifically MS-13. And I figured I could maybe shed some light on some stuff for you.
I'm very happy that you called in. Thank you. What should we know? Well, you know, when you look at this guy, well, I mean, first of all, you probably know all about the details and the arresting officer, and you saw the USA Today hit piece they've gotten. It's not the first one. The hit piece on the police officer, Prince George's County Gang Unit, who you doubtless know. And we see the tattoo down the left arm from elbow to the wrist. We see Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen, who sadly is your senator from the state of Maryland. And you are the perfect person to ask about all of this. So what should we as tax-paying citizens and voters know that we're being lied to about today?
So, first of all, the location that the stop was made is a location that a lot of migrant day laborers hang out at in the parking lot of Home Depot. MS-13 will go to these locations and extort the migrant workers for money, basically rob them. I know that this specific location has had this happen before, and that MS-13 is very, very deep in the Langley Park, Hyattsville area. It has been ever since it started showing up on the east coast of the U.S. When MS-13 hangs out, they hang out with other MS-13 members. They hang out with their friends.
Who doesn't?
One of the rules within MS-13 is if you see a chavala is basically a Spanish word meaning little girl, or derogatorily like a bitch. Mm-hmm. They call all enemies chavalas. That's just a word that they use for all the enemies. And if they see someone wearing paraphernalia or displaying hand signs or seemingly representing themselves as MS-13, and they don't know them to be MS-13, the rule is that they attack them because they're false flagging. They're representing their MS-13 when they're not. Uh-huh. The fact that I know that the people that this guy was stopped with are validated MS-13 members. I keep seeing stuff about, well, he was never charged with anything. Well, technically in the United States, it's not against the law to be a member of a gang unless that gang happens to be later on in federal court deemed a racketeering organization. So there is no charge for being in a gang. The agency that stopped him, which was the Hyattsville City Police Department, called the gang unit, the Prince George's County Gang Unit, for their expertise. So the fact that he was hanging out with these guys who I personally know are validated gang members of MS-13, and he was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat, which is very significant because one of these main symbols of MS-13 is their hand sign with the pinky and the forefinger pointed upwards, as if they were devil's horns, basically. You see a lot of their graffiti having devil's horns or long fingernails, devilish and satanic. So one of the identifiers that they started using, let's say 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, is the Chicago Bulls emblem, and they use it specifically for the horns that are pointed up because it's similar to one of their main identifiers, which is the devil's horns. The hand sign is known as La Garra, which is like the claw. The fact that he's wearing that, and the fact that he's wearing it, basically in Spanish, it's see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. He's wearing a T-shirt that has that symbolized on it, which is a common phrase that MS-13 uses in graffiti to silence people and basically intimidate the public. And they weren't attacking him. Like their rules say, if you see someone that you know or you don't believe is a MS-13 member, would indicate to me that they accepted him and they knew him and they knew that he was involved with the gang. They were allowing him to be with them, hang out with them, and they weren't attacking him. So that's very important fact. The validation process, people say, well, he was, everybody wearing a Chicago Bulls hat isn't a gang member. Well, that's of course not. Just like everybody that's using hand signs isn't a gang member. Everybody that has tattoos isn't a gang member. But to validate someone as a gang member, it's the total of what you have, the situation. So you look at someone that's throwing a hand sign. If someone's throwing a hand sign, okay, what's the hand sign? What gang is that hand sign for? Are they speaking American Sign Language? Are they wearing fraternity gear or sorority gear because some fraternities and sororities use hand signs? Are we near a college? Generally, people don't use hand signs unless they're in a gang, unless they're speaking American Sign Language or they're in a fraternity or another organization that specifically uses hand signs. The military and police have hand signs as well. Uh-huh. So we go through and you start looking at the whole picture. He's hanging out with other MS-13 members. He's displaying paraphernalia with symbols that are consistent with those used by MS-13. He's hanging out in a location that's known to be a location that MS-13 frequents. The area itself is known to have MS-13 very significantly. You start adding this stuff up. Then what's important is people say, well, somebody said he was MS-13. Then they took the next step and they contacted a past proven reliable, meaning this person has given information in the past mm-hmm. that has been found to be true. A past proven reliable informant, not just a random person off the street, but someone that they have used in the past that has been reliable and given good information, that is familiar with MS-13, and they ask him about each individual, who they are, show them pictures, give them names, and this person identified him as an MS-13 member with the moniker of Chele, C-H-E-L-E, of the Western Clique. Now, the cliques are also important because that's like the squads or the NFC and the AFC, and then you break it down into teams in the NFL. Well, they're like a team. The Western Clique is like a small organization within MS-13, a smaller group, a subgroup, I guess you would say. So he identifies them by moniker and by clique. So he's obviously, familiar with this guy. Something else that's significant is if you look at the report, the gang field interview report, there's one person on there that is not identified as an MS-13 member. If the officers are just randomly calling people MS-13, then all four people there would be labeled MS-13. If you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
There's one person that neither the source nor the officers said this person is an MS-13 member. Now, he's hanging out with MS-13, so it's probably a good chance that this person's involved with the gang.
Uh-huh.
But they didn't have enough to validate him, to call him a gang member. So They did not say in the report that he's a gang member of MS-13. If they didn't have enough to validate that this guy was an MS-13 member, they would not have done it. The fact that the officer that wrote the report was later fired for something that's totally unrelated to this stop.
Right.
This officer wrote the report. He's not the only one that was involved with this incident. Hyattsville City Police was involved in the incident. We don't know who interviewed these guys. We don't know how many officers were involved, but I guarantee you it wasn't one officer. It was multiple officers from the gang unit. When I was there, we would go out and we would stop 15 or 20 gang members, and we would all collect the information and usually the low man on a totem pole is the one that's writing. You got to do the paperwork, dude. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know. So
sure.
the fact that he did the paperwork really isn't relevant to. You know, it's really not it's not an argument, but it's a typical thing even in court. When you have no defense, you attack the officer.
Let me ask you about, you've seen the tattoos. We got pictures of him in the prison in El Salvador from his left elbow, and now that he's dating Democrat senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, and they're adoring each other at the breakfast table yesterday, the lunch table yesterday. You look at and I know you don't have close-ups of each and every tattoo on his arm, but any sense that you got from the tattoos that we've seen in the pictures?
No, I would love to see good tattoo photos.
Yeah,
I know that ICE has to have them. I know that has them. They should have them.
Right.
Because in training officers, I trained officers to take pictures of specific tattoos. Don't just take a picture of his back, but take pictures of the individual tattoos on his back. Because when you're talking about tattoos, there are two types of tattoos in the gang world as a gang investigator. There are gang-specific tattoos and there's non-specific tattoos. So non-specific tattoos are tattoos that are, let's say, they're consistent with tattoos that gang members get, but standing alone, they do not indicate they're a member of a specific gang or that they're a gang member, period. A lot of other people can get those tattoos, and a lot of other people do have tattoos. Something like the Smile Now, Cry Later, the theater masks. Right. Something like stars or skulls or snakes or whatever it may be. And then there are gang-specific tattoos. Gang-specific tattoos would be tattoos that one tattoo itself tells you that this person is involved with a specific. For MS-13, it would be the hand sign, Lagara. It would be the letters, MS, the number 13, Mata Salvatrucha, the full name of the gang written out. There's not a lot of gang-specific tattoos for MS. It could be click letters because each click has its own different letters, like Sailors, which is one of the clicks mentioned in that report. Sailors is SLSW, which is Sailors Locote Salvatrucho's West Side. Western would be WLS. So if you see stuff like that, only gang members of MS-13 are allowed to get those letters.
I'm on WLS in Chicago. Does that mean I qualify? I'm running out the clock on you here.
If you had it tattooed on you, then I would start looking at the big picture again. Okay, where are we at? Is he with other gang members? What else could this mean?
Yeah, I've got a note from my program director.
Right.
Yeah, I'm running out the clock on you here, George. Any final thoughts that you'd like to share?
No, but if you would like, you could have your director get my information, and I'm happy to answer questions for you whenever.
Well, that'd be excellent. Thank you very much. If you could hang on the line, that would be wonderful. Jasmine is in control today, and I will ask Jasmine to pick up and get contact information for you. God bless you. Thank you so much for your 29 years on the police force and all those years, 16 years on the gang unit in Prince George's County. And thank you very, very much for calling in. I appreciate it. We run into each other. I owe you beers. I owe a lot of beers for this week, don't I? For people calling in, a lot of beers. But, George, certainly the beers are on me, buddy. We've got a lot more coming up. And Chris Van Hollen, is he back home? Is he trying to have lunch with Luigi Mangione today? Does he want to adoringly touch the back of his hand as well? Maybe pass him the cream and sugar?
My name is the Craw.
The Craw?
Oh, not the Craw. The Craw.
Oh, yes, the Craw.
Oh, sorry. Little Led Zeppelin. I got to tell you, George, very popular caller. Not a hero of the Democratic Party because they're too busy adoring Luigi Mangione and members of MS-13. They're going to have to get into the Crips and the Blood soon too. Show that they adore them. Let's go to Mary calling from Maryland. Mary, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning. I need your help.
Uh-huh.
I am very confused. I watched yesterday on TV where Van Hollen was not going to be able to see him. I wake up this morning to him being in a restaurant with that person what happened to his underwear and socks? He's in a shirt. He's got pants on. He's in a restaurant with a white tablecloth on our taxpayer dollars. What is that and what happened?
Well, the Democrat Party, they're threatening the government of El Salvador, not just Van Hollen, but other Democrats too, and that means the news media too. So they arranged for a meeting, and I'm not sure. I'm still confused as to the location, a hotel or the cafeteria. I don't know. But I'll get more for you.